Hey friends, Stephen Michael Miller here. So glad to have you on today's Morning Momentum. And today is all about increasing and improving your circle of influence. I want you to think for a second about your story, your journey in life. Think about all the things that you have done up to this point and all of the things that you haven't yet done that you want to do. Now, if you kind of put that all into maybe if you write it all down on paper, take a look at it, oftentimes we don't understand and we don't realize that we have more control over the influence that we have on others than we might otherwise think. You see, the reality that I know that you probably also know is that influence it can't be forced. It's not something that you can really necessarily ask people for. Influence is something that is earned, and actually, to me, influence goes right along with your ability to get outside of your comfort zone, to expand yourself. In other words, the level at which you're willing to get outside your comfort zone and expand your comfort zone is proportionally identical to the amount that your circle of influence is also going to grow. And I want to show you about this. And I've talked about circles of influence before. Excuse me. I've talked about comfort zones before. And I want to kind of make that connection here for you. So I've got a whiteboard here behind me. I've got a couple markers over here. I'm going to grab one of these, and in just a minute, I'm going to kind of show you what I mean. But I want you to think about it for a second. Why do we love the underdog so much? If you think about why we love the underdog so much, and maybe if you think about different stories of underdog stories that you've heard about before, if you've ever watched the movie Rudy, yeah, that's a really fun sports movie. If you've never seen it before, it's the same guy that's in The Hobbit and Goonies from a long time ago. But if you've ever watched the movie Rudy or read the book Rudy, it's all about this kid who comes from a small town. He wanted to go to Notre Dame. He wanted to play football for Notre Dame. This kid was not built to play football. And if you would have looked at him and seen him, you would have said to yourself, yeah, there's no way. Like, that's impossible. And I'm not going to go through the whole movie for you, but at the end, basically, this kid who has no natural ability worked super hard. I mean, like, worked his guts out. And in like the last minute of the last game kind of thing, they let him go in and he made a great play. And it was like this amazing experience for him and for all of those that knew him and that saw his hard work and his dedication. And Rudy became a major inspiration for people all over the world. Obviously, they made a movie about his life. He's gone on to go speak all over the world based on his experiences. And so I want you to think for a second why we love the underdog so much. Well, we love the underdog because I think at some point or another in our lives, we see ourselves as that same underdog. We see ourselves as someone who is against all odds. Maybe the world is stacked against us, or our circumstances have stacked against us, and we're coming up to face what seems like insurmountable odds. And so we get up to the plate, we come up to the plate, and we're ready to swing. And man, these pitchers are just amazing. I'm on sports analogies now. These pitchers are just amazing, and they're shooting at us the fastballs and the curveballs, and all their pitches are unbelievably hard to even see, much less hit. And yet we practice, we try every day, we swing, and we swing. And the amazing thing happens when we finally connect. We finally connect with that ball and we hit it, and not necessarily even out of the park. We sometimes even just hit a base hit or whatever. We love these underdog stories so much because we relate to them. They mean something to us because we have faced hardship and trial and challenge in our lives, and oftentimes have succumbed to those obstacles. In other words, we have maybe failed in our attempts to achieve something greater, something that we've wanted to accomplish. And so as we watch these underdog stories, as we observe the lives of these people that we revere, that we hold up, we see them doing things that we want to also do, that we want to be able to accomplish. And we love that. I mean, it not only speaks to our minds, but it speaks to our hearts, and it's something that we love, and it inspires us. It makes us feel like maybe life isn't all bad, and maybe things are possible for us as well inside of our own spheres. So I want to the sound is going to be a little bit different here, of course, but I want to show you a couple things. And I'm going to grab a marker here. I'll stay seated. But your comfort zone, I've talked about this before, right? Your comfort zone, I've got a little CZ up there, if you can see that. Your comfort zone is everything that you currently know, all your past experiences, right? And in order to get outside of your comfort zone, you're going to have to face opposition, resistance. No matter what, every time you try to get outside of your comfort zone, and this is the space of everything that you currently know, every time you try to get outside of that, there's going to be resistance and opposition, because it includes doing things that you've never done before, things that you're not familiar with, things that you're not comfortable with, right? It includes all of that. And so every time you try to get outside of your comfort zone, you're going to meet that resistance. And what typically happens with the average person is they are met with that resistance, and then they go back. When that resistance comes, fear comes up, or pain happens, or whatever, and they cower back inside their comfort zone. This happens to every single one of us from time to time, right? And so the hard thing is how do I stay outside of my comfort zone long enough to where that becomes my new norm? And in all these cases of the underdog, this is what we experience. We see these individuals who get outside of their comfort zone. It's difficult for them, but they create this goal, or they have this burning desire in their mind and their hearts, and they get after it. And so they stay outside of that comfort zone just long enough to where that new space becomes their new comfort zone, right? If they stay out there long enough, if they overcome that resistance and they stay out there long enough, then that new space becomes their comfort zone, and they grow as an individual with that experience that they just had. And see, the reality that I know, and that you know also, you know this, is every time you're experiencing some sort of hardship, whether you see it or not, there are people that are watching you. Those people may be your children, those people may be your friends, maybe it's on social media, I don't know, right? But almost always, when you're going through some sort of struggle, when you're going through some challenge, when you've got a goal that you want to accomplish, you're not the only one that's looking at that or seeing that. There are other people that are also observing and watching. And so they're hoping for that underdog to win. Although, while they may be hoping deep down for the underdog to win, they're typically talking as though the underdog will never win. You know, it's a lost cause. It's impossible. You probably heard it. Maybe you had a goal or a dream that you told your siblings at one point, or you told your family. Maybe you told your best friend, and you were met with a response that you didn't necessarily love. Maybe they told you, you know what, oh, that's hard. I've tried that before. You probably shouldn't do that. It's almost impossible. Maybe they told you, you know, that can bring some heartache and pain. So maybe you shouldn't try to experience that either, right? And it's almost like crabs in a bucket, where sometimes we tell our deepest desires, our biggest wishes, our largest dreams, we tell those to people that we love, that we trust. And sometimes they kind of pull us back down, right? Because they've experienced things where they've tried to get outside of their comfort zones. They were met with resistance. And instead of expanding out, they went back in and they stayed where they were. So it's natural for them to want to warn you. They're not doing it on purpose. It's not that they don't believe that you can do it. It's that they didn't believe that they could do it because they didn't. And so they want to bring you back in. But here's the neat thing. Here's the thing that's so important is they're watching you. See, they're watching to see what you will do. They don't even know necessarily that they're doing this. A lot of this is happening on a subconscious level. But they're watching you, and they're waiting to see what it is that you're going to do. If it's a new business that you're trying out, if it's a new goal that you might have, if you're doing different things financially or budget wise, and maybe you're I don't know, maybe you want to start a business, whatever it might be. They're watching to see what happens when you get outside that comfort zone. They're watching what happens to see when you take that next step. Are you going to shrink back, or are you going to blast through and make that your new comfort zone? And so you see your circle of influence. I'm going to call that your CI over here, right? Your circle of influence. If it starts here, and we go back here just a second. If it starts right here, and your circle of influence is directly proportionate to your comfort zone, then what happens right here is the second you get outside of your comfort zone, those people that are in your circle of influence are watching, they're seeing what's going to happen. And if you stay out there long enough to where your comfort zone increases, they watch and see that success. They see that you overcame those odds, that you were resilient, that you blew past that discomfort, and it gives them hope. Not only does it give them hope, but they start to tell other people. They start to say, "Look, Stephen did something there. He stood outside of his comfort zone long enough. He withstood the pain." Which means if he can do it, maybe I can do it too. Maybe we all can do it. They start to tell their friends, look what he did. This is amazing. The story starts to spread. The story of the underdog winning begins to be disseminated. And the reason why that happens is because they're so excited that this has been made possible all of a sudden, that someone could actually do it. And they jump on board, right? They say, oh my gosh, I can do that too, maybe. And if they continue to watch you, which they normally will, if you continue to do this, getting outside your comfort zone until it becomes your new comfort zone, until you grow as an individual, they'll see that growth, and they'll want to not only follow, but they'll want to show others and tell others about it. And so your circle of influence begins to expand with your ability to grow your comfort zone, right? In other words, your ability to grow yourself, to step outside of your current place of comfort, your current habits, your current abilities, to step outside that and to grow that. Every time you're willing to do that, your circle of influence grows a little bit as well in proportion to that. So if you want to increase your circle of influence, if you want to have greater influence over the world, and I don't mean it, of course, in a negative way, but if you want to influence and help people positively and do that more and more and more, it starts with you. You've got to do things first yourself. You've got to show the example, right? You got to teach by example, not just by speaking it. You got to teach by doing it. And if you'll do that, you'll start to see your circle of influence grow. And this helps obviously in a ton of different ways. Of course, it helps you if you're building business or growing a company or anything like that. Your circle of influence can help. It also, by the way, helps in your relationships, helps with your children or friends or family. If you want to help and bless them and their lives more, then the best way to do that is to be an example, is to lead out, is to get outside of your comfort zone, allow that comfort zone to grow so that you're growing, so that they can see that growth and understand, wow, if Stephen can do it, then maybe I can do it too. If John or Susie or whatever your name is, if you can do it, then they can do it as well. Then it's all of a sudden now possible, and they're going to start watching your journey, and they're going to start rooting also for you eventually. At first, although they may be trying to tear you down, when they start to see you succeed over and over and over again, they'll begin to root for you and cheer for you. And they may also eventually join your tribe and help you accomplish some of your bigger and biggest goals, some of the greatest achievements that you want to accomplish. They now may be able to catch the vision and help you with those because you set forth that example. You took them so far on the journey as you were going. They may be willing now to join you willingly on that journey, and to help you accomplish even more. See, the greatest goals that we have, the biggest accomplishments that we want to accomplish, almost can never be done alone. I mean, I'm talking about the really big goals, the really huge dream goals. Those usually cannot be accomplished by ourselves. We need other people. We need support. We need people in our tribe to step up and to fill gaps where we may not have the answers for everything, right? And so the greater you're willing to step outside of your comfort zone and to grow yourself, the more your circle of influence will also grow. And the more you'll be able to reach those massive, massive goals that you're setting for yourself, and also help others to achieve theirs as well. So with that, everyone, have a wonderful, amazing morning. Let's keep that momentum going. Join me on the next one. We'll see you tomorrow.